Welcome, dear students, to video number 4. I hope you're not tired by now. So this video talks about complete contrast to whatever we have seen in the previous video. We had seen that how positivist paradigm talks about universal application of knowledge. We have seen that how it talks about numerical equations. It talks about constructing a hypothesis, and after experimentation, finding out some kind of social reality out of that. So these people considered this method to be the best one, this method to be the supreme one, this method to be the only one that could find out reality, that could find out whatever is good for human being, and they didn't allow other types of ideologies to exist, and that is why they considered themselves to be the almighty, then seems to be the knower. This is the problem with science. This is the problem with the people adopting scientific approach, because they think that they are superior, they think that they are everything. So let's see what does this next paradigm in section 4.2 tells us through these headings of interpretivist paradigm or constructivist paradigm, to understand the subjective world of human experience. So here is in the very first line, we could see the counter is there, subjectivity is here, where we had seen that in the previous section, objectivity was the aim, was the intention, and was the goal of creating all knowledge, all experimentation, all types of inferences, and all types of social analogies that they used to draw whenever they used to talk about the aspects. So this approach makes an effort to get into the head of the subjects being studied. So this one is different. We do not objectively consider individuals as numbers, individuals as participants, individuals upon a nominal scale. Rather, we go into their heads, we look at them. This one is very good as far as ethnographic research is concerned. So if you just look at this, the very initial chapters of Gabriel Griffin's book that we will study as far as our course is concerned, and as far as research methods are concerned. So here is the book that I'm talking about. This book by Gabriel Griffin talks about various social aspects and various social research methods, and ethnography is one such method, ethnographic research, where you are part of a community, where you go and live with the community, and where you talk to them, where you go into their minds, where you just look at them, and where you find out how and what type of you could see ideologies do those people depict, and how they are the ones. So this chapter number 7, the use of ethnographic as a research method in English studies. So you can, we will look at them, and we'll talk in our on-campus classes regarding this particular method. So this approach talks about going into the heads of the subjects being studied, so to speak, to understand and interpret what the subject is thinking or meaning she is making out of that particular context. Every effort is made to try to understand the viewpoint of the subject being observed, rather than the viewpoint of the observer. Earlier we had seen how observer was the one that was very important. Now it is not the observer, rather the participants that are the subject of the study, they carry the central position. They are the ones for whom the whole drama is being staged. So we can see that how emphasis is placed upon understanding of the individual and their interpretation of the world around them. So earlier we didn't have any kind of this type of approach as far as our previous paradigm was concerned. So key tenet of this interpretivist paradigm is that reality is socially constructed. We human beings are social beings. So we talk to each other. We enter into the views of each other. It is enter into the view of the other individual, where you are able to understand, where you are able to find out what type of individual and what type of thinking do they possess. So this is why sometimes that this paradigm has been called as the constructivist paradigm. So you are constructing a reality, you are constructing a society, you are constructing a community, and in this paradigm, theory doesn't provide the research but follows it. So we follow. Theory doesn't precede the research, rather it follows the research, and it is grounded on the data that is generated by the research act. So we ground the data in a way, it is a grounded one, and hence when following this paradigm, data we gathered, analyzed in a manner consistent with the grounded theory. Here you could see that how this paradigm is more of a subjectivist paradigm and it follows subjectivist ideology and subjectivist epistemology. The sources of knowledge of this particular field would be subjectivist, and then we will follow a relativist ontology, where we'll see that how things relate to each other, and then we will see that how naturalist methodology that is based on upon the natural environment, and how we will see that the balanced axiology, where we follow, we understand, and we value the values of the individuals under investigation, the characters under investigations, the beings under investigation, instead of just counting the number, as we had seen or as we see in the field of corpus linguistics. You see that the corpus linguistics is doing the same thing as the positivist paradigm is used to do. If we do not include the social reality, if we just keep on counting the number of nouns or number of pronouns or number of that other you could see parts of speech that are involved. So if it doesn't go beyond that counting the number, then definitely it is going to keep itself within that particular framework. So in order to move beyond it, it will have to follow the ontological, axiological, and methodological basis, and epistemological things should be incorporated in order to move it beyond the naturalist paradigm or move it beyond the paradigm of positivism. So this assumption of subjectivist epistemology means that the researchers and the make meaning of their data through their own thinking and cognitive process, the use of their brains, the use of their ideologies, and the use of their logic that they entail. And on the basis of these personal experiences and real life situation, natural settings, we incorporate and we develop, and we see that how subjects are engaged in an interactive sessions in which they find out something meaningful, and when they intermingle, when they dialogue, when they question, listen, read, write, record those proceedings of the research data. So this assumption is more of a relativist as far as its ontology is concerned, that you believe that situations studied has multiple realities. So here you could see that the relativist reality of that community, of that society, of those individuals could be different. It is their own situation. It changes with the changing variables. It changes with the changing atmosphere. It changes with the changing geographical or demographic uh, situations, and then those realities can be explored and the meanings can be made or reconstructed through the kind of human interaction between them, and we are able to deduce that kind of analysis on the basis of subjectivity, and where we see how we engage in data gathering process through interviews, through discoveries, through text messages, through reflective sessions, and their research and acting as the principal observer. And we could create a kind of balanced on axiology, that outcome of the research will reflect that the values of the researcher trying to present are balanced in the report of the finding. Let's look at some of the characteristics that this particular ideology talks about according to Lincoln and Goha and Morgan. The research of interpretivist or constructivist ideology entails following characteristics and following features. So the admission that the social reality cannot be understood from the subjective viewpoint of an individual. So individual is not enough. It is like the whole society has come to understanding, like as in positivist paradigm we had seen that it was the individual whose standpoint was you could see not taken into consideration, and the whole reality and the individual of the participant, they were considered as mere numbers, and the belief that the realities are multiple and socially constructed. So multiple realities as against the singular reality or unilateral reality as far as positivism is concerned. The acceptance that there is an inevitable interaction between the researcher and his or her own research participant. So interaction is there, inevitable, that has to be there, that is very in a way a kind of cordial interaction, and they engage into the views of each other and they understand each other. Then the context is vital for the knowledge in mind. Without context, knowledge cannot be understood. For them, context is important, but whereas in positivists, you see that the context was not important. It was the finding that was important. Finding could be applied. It had generalization, and it had universality and universal appeal. But here, generalization and universal appeal, they are not taken into consideration. Rather, they are replaced by the context that is there. So believe that the knowledge is created by the findings, and that can be value laden, and the values and the need to be made explicit. So we could create values out of the particular situations that we entail and that we think that are there before us. And then there is need that the individuals rather than universal laws. So you could see that universal laws are not given that kind of importance over here, whereas in positivist paradigm, it was the universal law that carry the significant amount of weightage and significant amount of worth, whereas here it is a contradictory situation where we see that the individuals are given more preference. The belief that cause and effects are mutually interdependent. Cause and effect, one thing lead into in a more kind of intertextual, in a more kind of dialogic, in a more kind of interconnected way, where things coexist instead of just following the cause into the effect.